The system's like, I'm sorry, but you're a couple minutes early. Are you sure that you are ready to hit that button? It's like, I believe I am. I believe I'm ready. It looks like there was also some people already waiting for us in the first place.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I saw your tweet, and I want to kind of, I'll open with that for the show itself. But as we kind of just warm up, let people kind of step into the podcast room. Dude, how has life been treating you? It feels like it's been, and if my math is wrong, I do apologize, but it feels like it's been about 6 months.
I think so. Yeah.
Some Endwalker stuff, talking about some Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And your WoW experience, and
yeah,
go in the opposite direction, man. This guy's like a salmon. It's like, let's swim upriver. Dude, so how you been? What's been going on with you?
Oh, well, let's see. New job really got me going 24/7 ish because of I'm on call for COVID, but I was able to negotiate to not do it all the time. I had a thing this weekend where a whole entire database disappeared, but that's a whole other thing. Gaming wise, I just put out a video, and it's kind of funny. I've been struggling with free to play games for a while, and well, first of all, what's your take on free to play games in the first place, and freemium?
They are a okay, so they're a plague on the industry, but.
My man,
we are representing like 1% of the industry, and 99% of the industry is like, bring them on. We don't care. Like, oh, and so it's like, do I feel like we have a chance of getting rid of that business model? No, right. I just choose not to waste like my energy. And I just like, in terms of a video itself, like I'll go play it. I'll go touch it, you know, and it's like, all right, now I, see what the loop is. And then it's like, all right, bye. Like, it's not going to be something that I have yet. Could there be a freemium or free game? Maybe with the exception of, like, I would say Multiverses. I feel Multiverses is a premium game with a good introduction, right? So you step in and they have a random selection of characters that rotates. So it's like, hey, welcome in. And then it's like, all right, do you want to buy the game, the characters and some stuff? Absolutely. This is a lot of fun. So that, like, can it be done well? Yes. Does it have serious risks, and does it also put that thought in the back of your brain going like, did they slow down this progress just to get me some money? But then you see it bleed into like actual like paid games like freaking Assassin's Creed or something like that. They're like, oh, you guys are making $1 billion over here on this free game.
Let's do it. Let's go ahead. Let's do it too. Yeah. So
I would release a free game if somebody was like, that's going to make $300 million for you. Like I'm so broke right now. Like, like, okay, release it to the masses. Anyway, what do you think?
So I played possibly the worst free to play game, and I think you know what it is. Starts with a D.
Yeah.
And ends with a
ends in
moral.
ends in regret.
And I decided to actually play that. I went to therapy about 9 months ago because financial. I honestly think people should just have a therapist behind them.
Somebody talk to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. But I started on this exposure therapy. I started playing free to play games in increments, 1 hour, 2 hour a day. If I felt something, write it down. Tell my therapist. My therapist was like my alarm. Hey, get off the game. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I decided I wanted to honestly take this out of my system forever. I played the worst free-to-play game ever. Diablo Immortal has to be the worst free-to-play game I have ever played, seen, or witnessed. I don't know what Blizzard was thinking, but they did it. They kind of made the worst one. So I played it, and it took me a long time to actually get to the finish of that. But it really was like more like shock therapy rather than, oh man, you're playing this free to play game. Just don't pay for anything. And let me tell you, I have what is known as like adult ADHD. Mm-hmm. So you could probably tell because I've been swiving in my chair the whole entire time because I can't stop moving myself.
I just play with my dick the whole time I'm watching these podcasts.
See, so that's what's happening. Holy crap, dude! I didn't even know.
Oh man, you set me up good. Oh man, sorry. It's the I've been doing the comedy, and it's like, man, like it just like I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
Oh, by the way, I heard you've been going to the comedy club.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh man, it's like all of a sudden it was like, whoa, all right, what? I was only lurking, and now they got me sitting up in my chair, dropping some emotes.
Let me tell you, playing with my dick would probably been a lot better than playing Diablo Immortal. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, dude, definitely. I guess I don't know. We'll try to keep it somewhat PG-13. Oh man,
you're gonna have to up the rating. Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Well, I don't think that's technically essentially a foul within the YouTube world. Especially since we've been streaming for a few minutes. They really only care about like, is anything offensive within the first 3 minutes? This should plug an ad for Diablo Immortal so bad it will cure your addiction to free to play.
Listen, Luke, listen. It actually did. It was the biggest shock. Like, first of all, how do you have something that they're advertising? Oh yeah, you could definitely do just as well as anybody who's a whale. Then you got something in the system that literally says you need to pay this now so that you can catch up with the. So I was done. I made the video. I talked about it. I didn't get to talk about my a lot about my history with free-to-play games, but interesting fact, if you have ADHD, you got compulsion, sometimes you can't help yourself. Sometimes you look at something, you don't realize you're doing it or how much money you're paying for. I'm going to tell you, the only good thing Diablo Immortal ever did for me was help me get off free-to-play games and cut that out of my life and find out that Brian is yanking his dick off screen. Apparently.
and thus the meme was born, and thus the legend grew. Oh man, I was like, I wish we were in a comedy club right now, because like legitimately, it's like I would just go, man. Like I so this week, and then we'll jump in and actually do the show. But this week I was sitting here like I've been tweeted out, like I was like I suffer from anxiety, so I actually have a therapist. Do cognitive behavioral therapy, but all in all, like life's been really good. But like over the last I guess really 4 months, like I've seen work just ping pong up and down. Released a video, had a lot of people step up and help out with membership and super chats and things like that, which is just good. Like, which has helped. But it's like the goal ultimately is to try and get some more predictable revenue. So we have like 124 like tier 1 members, which is $1. So it's like the goal is to, like, obviously, like the people who've stepped up and done to tier 2, which is 5, and the tier 3 is 10. Like it's like the people who stepped up at $1. It's like that's like I want to grow that base. Like I want to try to like, and at least for whatever reason in my mind, I think that just makes content creation a little bit safer. Yeah. But like one of the things, like, man, if we were like, so anyway, all that being said, I didn't mean to get into the pitch for membership here, but one of the things that like I was sitting here and just like stressed and just like dealing with anxiety, and been working in the evenings doing like everything and anything I can, just like, okay, how can I just bidding on contracts, just doing whatever, applying resumes, taking tests, preparing for interviews, like the whole like gamut. Like that's how I deal with anxiety. Like I have to be, I'm very action oriented, so that as long as I'm doing something, which my wife's like, you've been burning the candle, you need to go rest, you need to just go like chill out. And so she's like, go do some comedy tonight. So then it's like I just went in and just killed it. And the guys were like, you were like, this last Monday, I was like, you were next level. So I was like, anxiety fuels me. But it's like, yeah, I wish we were in the club, because they're like, you said something. It's like, man, I've got like, it's like, we will be like, we're going to be red banding this thing real quick. And people ask me, like, will you post it online? Like, if we ever film anything, the only thing that I might be willing to post online would be audience, interactions. I think when I kind of analyze and look at content creation in terms of comedy, like I think essentially like comedy is about a relationship in a club, especially in stand-up, that like everybody's kind of in this agreement. And if I offend you, if I do something just like say, and I don't think I'm personally offensive, I just tell like real stories about the crazy stuff that's happened to me in my lifetime. But like overall, like there'll be people who come up and they'll say things, and like they definitely get a reaction, right? But like there's this kind of agreement that we're all in this club together. And I think that by putting that kind of stuff out on the internet, like you're just kind of like at home, you've had a bad day, someone's called you like, like a horrible word or something like that. And then you see a comedian and they're like, oh, that guy's an asshole. It just doesn't, because like you didn't go to the club. You were like, especially with the algorithm of swipe, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I don't feel better because of that. So I think I have a tendency, because it's like, because there's a natural agreement in that. And so audience interaction stuff is probably, if I do anything, will
Feels like
See how
coming
that
home,
goes.
you know. It's like
Yeah. Well, because it's like also it's like there's a banter, there's a back and forth
yeah,
in a video form where like if you don't if you know like there's I can't read your reaction. We're not having a dialogue if you're like scrolling and this is just some clip
yeah.
that might be not even in full context. So I think that's the kind of the decision I've ultimately made. So I'm just going to invite people out to the club when they, because I've done a couple places here in North Texas. I do not intend to tour. Do not intend to like, I'm coming to Florida. Like my wife would murder me. Like I'm leaving my wife and the kids back in Texas for this gig that's going to pay $40.
I wonder. Sell out every single theater, every club you go to. You should just try to sell it all out. You know,
sell it all out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, that's the play. Anything else you want to say before we jump into the actual podcast?
Oh, well, let's see.
Our pre-shows are legendary here, and then about down to business. Mm-hmm.
You were talking about. I want to touch up on the comedy where you were saying like, you know, you just talk about your life, right? And it turns out to be funny. I think that happens to me quite a bit. I went to, here's a little story. I went to Lowe's. I was working at Lowe's one time, and it was like for a full year. Bringing a giant box to a guy up front, right? And this little kid, right? I don't mean anything against the kid or anything like that. The mom was very appreciative. She was nice. The kid was hiding behind their mom, looking at me, hiding behind the mom. And mom was very nice about it. She was like, "Oh, is everything okay? You look scared?" And I'm like, "Oh, you afraid the color blue, or am I too tall or something?" Mom looks back and says, "Oh, no. She hasn't seen a black guy before." And I'm like, "Oh,
wow.
Oh, this their first time?"
What state was this in?
Believe it or not, it is the west side of Pennsylvania. The west side of Pennsylvania can be compared to South Carolina, to maybe even like a part of Texas. It's literally country over there. Yeah. and and this is the first time I ever met that kind of, or was in that kind of situation. But the guy behind me, he was, I don't know, he came out screaming at the woman saying, how dare you talk to him like that? He is a grand member of this society. And I'm like, bruh, I don't need you to talk from that.
We're good, right?
Like, what are you doing, man? Like, I don't need you to do this.
Think I'm white. Let me step in here and let me ease this problem over.
Right,
let my white savior complex just step in uninvited.
Meanwhile, at the end of this, like the kid was just like tugging on my shirt and was just said "Sawi." I was like, yo, that's the most adorable little thing wow, okay. All right, I'm sorry about that, ma'am. And she was like, no, I'm sorry you had to witness that bullshit.
Dude, that's wild. You want to hear like kind of an eye-opening white moment for me in terms of Black culture?
What's up?
It's a pretty interesting story, I think. Now, I am going to be very clear for anybody if they clip any of this and be like, well, Brian's like, oh, racist. It's like, this was for me like a real eye-opening moment, but I will still at this point, even having experienced this, can never understand what it means to be Black in America at all. But me and my friend Cameron, he's like, even I'm 6 foot tall, and this guy feels like he cast a shadow over the whole damn state. Like this guy is a tall dude, but the like just me and him, best friends, played soccer growing up, like known each other since we're 4 years old, just like best friends. We get together like a couple times every year. And I just love the guy to death. Like his just, you know, he defines my relationship growing up with just a guy who loves Zelda, you know. Just like we would always just talk about that. But so I turn 18 and he's just a little bit younger than I am. And I mean, again, he's like 20 foot tall, but still a little bit younger. So I was like, I'm always kind of like, come on, young man, let's go. But at its core, like we were going, and I was like, I'm 18. I'm gonna buy some cigars. I'm not a smoker, but I'm 18. Let's get some cigars and celebrate my birthday. We're gonna go back to my place. And so I go get the cigars, and we're walking back to the car, and police flash their lights. And I was like, huh. And my reaction, which is really stupid, was I just kind of throw the cigars like, oh, and then I was like, and then you see like this young me like walk up and like pick up. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, anyway, so they take me and they take him. We have two of our other buddies with us. They line us up, and They have him. It's a black police officer, and they have him spread down all on the ground, spread out, and they're patting him down, searching him for every possible thing. And then we're the three white guys, like they're like, you're good. Like it's nothing. They do nothing to us. And I was just had my mind just blown. I was like, what is happening? I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And I was later talking to my friend. He's like, yeah, like he had a really good dad that says, hey, listen, like, especially when you're hanging out with these white boys, like, let's just be real. Like there's two different worlds that we're living in, especially with these interactions.
Yeah.
Don't ever even lightly do the thing that the white kids are thinking about doing. And I was like, oh man, thank God your dad was that awesome. Because it's like, yeah, like, how is this interaction? I was like, oh, all right, like, hi officer, how's it going? And then like, why is Cameron, why do you have him on the ground? He's not even doing anything. He's just like, I'm all right, we'll go along. So that was like a kind of an interesting like experience where like Cameron's like, yeah, and just like, that's just kind of what you got to do. You just kind of roll with it. And I was like, oh man,
that's funny.
We live in two different worlds. Yeah, like having grown up this entire time, just still two different kind of worlds.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like Cameron's probably just like, all right, let's just get this over with. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
all
sir.
Right. Yes, mm-hmm. Officer. Yep.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
officer. Yeah.
It's funny because it's the truth that I've gotten pulled over walking on a sidewalk, just walking. Had a school bag, was walking in the dark, going home from work, and then just. Sir, we're just gonna have to stop you. We've had some suspicious activities happening in the area, and I'm like, okay.
I wonder how much of this is just some kind of blue-haired racist, like just like I saw the white guy walking by, and
as long as you nod, say yes, sir, comply, nothing should happen. And 9 times out of 10, nothing happens.
Yeah, it's the 1 time out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we talk video games?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so we're gonna kick into the intro, and we're gonna be talking about some Diablo, some free to play, some MMOs, streamers. So there's a lot of streaming news today. You actually would love to hear your thoughts on it. So, all right, guys,
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Epic Loot Radio. My name is Brian, and joining me today is just an incredible guy, incredible gamer. I love sitting down talking with him. Syncweaver. If you're not following his YouTube channel, he's tagged in this video. Please go give him some support. Make some incredible videos. They do take a little bit of time to make, if we're not lying. Sometimes I'm like, all right, Sync, where's that extra video? And so one of the things that was just a really unique story that I will tell about you, for those listening into the MP3 audio world, is that you, when everybody was coming and leaving World of Warcraft, you actually went the other direction and decided you're going to give World of Warcraft a shot. You were going to go see what it's like as not necessarily a Final Fantasy 14 refugee, but like what is going on with WoW? Why are people leaving it in droves? Why don't you give everybody an introduction to yourself, though, to your content, and what you're currently playing?
Hey, how you doing? I'm Syncweaver. I am primarily a Final Fantasy 14 lore channel, which going into the very direction of just talking about MMOs in general. Yes, as what Brian said, I decided to hop into the heaping lava that is World of Warcraft as a new player. And let me just tell you, the title didn't miss a beat when I said why I'm leaving. Because there's a lot of things in there that I had to go in there, witness, say, oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and why I completely stopped playing World of Warcraft. And let me just tell you, new player experience, Blizzard, you got to fix that, please. You got to do something. I don't know what to tell you, man, but a little bit on that. Yeah, World of Warcraft has a very good story somewhere. I tried to find it. I'm a lore guy for 14. I tried to find it. I genuinely tried to find it. Wasn't there. Gameplay, not bad. I actually liked it. But it asks a lot from you. A little hard when you get to the end game and people has you downloading a whole bunch of third-party tools, which, by the way, 14 has a TOS with third-party tools, so it was very foreign to me. But yeah, being told to download 50 third-party tools, Yeah, I just didn't know how to take that. But the raiding scene was kind of intense and also kind of like guided because they had something like deadly boss mobs, if I remember correctly, which basically tells you how to fight in those fights. And I'm like, what the heck? But overall,
Yeah. Where like when
it's
people come to 14, they're like, oh, I don't need to install this, and the game's
yeah.
gonna cue me into what mechanic is coming up. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just didn't I kind of didn't understand like why we had to download all these third-party tools. And then I saw that there was an add-on button that Blizzard actually made to be put in there, so they embraced the add-on culture, which I think is kind of a detriment to the MMO, honestly. Uh yeah, it wasn't a very good time. it was it was confusing. It was actually fun in the beginning because you got that honeymoon phase, I guess, with starting something new, and then it starts gradually seeing itself go down into a certain path. And unfortunately, I understood why people left at that point. And
Now, with the obviously like Dragonflight, like right on the like the tails that might be releasing this year,
yeah,
do you have like any thoughts about kind of returning and checking out? Like now that you've actually invested time, would have that character? Would you like end up kind of getting on that cycle of expansion, check it out, and then and then go dip out and play like other games? Because that's what I generally am curious about. Where is WoW just this event that happens every 2 years now? And then it keeps the people it keeps, and then everybody else just kind of goes off and says, "Whew, time to go be a refugee, like go into another game." Like, I guess generally speaking, do you think we'll see more waves of WoW refugees with Dragonflight, with 11.0, and what would prevent that, in your opinion?
I think a lot more people, from what I'm seeing right now, are going back to World of Warcraft for Dragonflight, and whether or not, depending on how it goes, we might actually see more WoW refugees coming from the game because this is kind of their last hope. If Dragonflight does not work, people are going to legit leave after coping for years. And it's kind of astounding the first time we had like a WoW refugee situation, but they have to do good on Dragonflight. And from what I can tell, they're going in the right direction. I'm actually going to join Dragonflight to see what the new player experience is again. And hopefully it's good. Because I'll be honest with you, and this might actually puzzle people. I want WoW to actually be good. I actually want competition in MMOs and gaming and all that stuff because we need competition to make ourselves better. It's not like Final Fantasy 14 started out the greatest. It started out in the fabled 1.0, and I was there when 1.0 was out. I was questioning a lot of things. My computer went on fire because the potted flower was the same pixels as a character, and every time I went to a city in Ul'dah specifically and Gridania, the flowers slowed down the game, and the combat was kind of like Final Fantasy 11. I was okay with the Final Fantasy 11 reference. I came from that, but it was just bad for 1.0. It started out bad, but Realm Reborn came out, they learned, they fixed, they took from World of Warcraft specifically. A lot of people forget about that. They took a lot from World of Warcraft into 14, into A Realm Reborn, and they were able to make an actual good game. They made Heaven's Word, which the meme, I'm not going to say the meme. I'm not saying the meme, but they made Heaven's Word. Right now, you could do a free trial in that, and I kind of sound like an advertisement, but I'm just trying to say, World of Warcraft, this is your last chance. Dragonflight's your last chance. I'm just saying, this is your last chance.
Speaking of other Blizzard properties, obviously Diablo Immortal, we were talking about that in the pre-show, and I don't want to waste too much airtime on that piece of garbage. What I would actually kind of pivot to in terms of that experience and looking at Diablo 4, which they've kind of talked about some of their monetization, which doesn't bother me. Like that's where the conversation online is, I find difficult, is when we talk about like it's perfectly fine for these games to make money. We want them to make money. How do we structure? How is that structured? So Diablo Immortals are like Diablo 4 is already starting to lay down those tracks. Obviously, you're going to see the people who are like anti all monetization, come into play. Like I think that if Diablo Immortal can, Diablo 4, like
it's okay, it's okay.
if 4 can come out and also then make great reoccurring revenue, then maybe that means we get more and more game. Like I feel like Diablo 3 was like, yeah, then we had the expansion, and then they just kind of went to this seasonal model, and it's, but without like really like any thing. I was like, it was fun. I really enjoyed Diablo 3. I'm very excited for Diablo 4, having already played it. But do you have any concerns, especially after coming off of Immortal, about Diablo 4, and would you be willing to check Diablo 4 out, considering your horror experience with Diablo Immortal?
Yeah, I'm actually going to play Diablo 4. I do have my worries because of Diablo Immortal. Immortal was not my greatest first impression when it came to the Diablo series. Diablo Immortal was my first Diablo game, just to say that. It did make me go backwards, though. I did play Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. I actually like Diablo 3. A lot of people seem to not like it. I'm not really too sure why.
There are definitely people who didn't, especially coming from Diablo 2. And I haven't yet gone back and actually played the remake or the remaster for Diablo 2.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I like the Diablo series. I've always really enjoyed it. I found fun in 3. I obviously launched with some issues, but like it's clearly designed in terms of like, I think it missed some marks, and it definitely had some missing things. We never saw PvP, for example.
Yeah.
Diablo 4 really was like, like it was so iconic. A very hard game, must have been a hard game to follow up. Just like with like even that like veterans like me and you in 11 look at 14 in both positive and negative ways. Like if you said, "Hey Brian, what does 14 need?" and be like a little bit more of that 11 injection, like a little bit like the open world needs that 11 love, like as an option. It doesn't have to be the be all end all, but like, man, how cool would that be? But anyhow,
listen, hey, listen, I still want Dragoons to have a pet dragon.
Exactly.
Like,
and they're like, in the lore, hey, we've solved that lore problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we're friendly with the dragons now.
Yeah, we can have a baby dragon following us,
Heck yeah. Justinian's riding a dragon like every time I see him.
Yeah, like, what's up with that, Mr. Dragon Hater?
Yeah.
Diablo 4. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm gonna be very cautious when I go in there. I've already heard some rumors that there's gonna be some sort of monetization in there, and I'm wondering how they're gonna do that. Hopefully it's not free to play, because I already took a pledge of never playing a free to play game ever again.
I don't think so. I think it's gonna be buy to play.
Yeah, so as if it's buy to play, and they want to monetize that more, there are like ways that I approve of. For instance, like I play fighting games. I play Tekken, play Street Fighter, play Super Smash Brothers, all the fighting games.
Have you played Multiverses?
I have, actually.
What do you think about that, especially with your pledge?
I loved it, dude. I loved playing Multiverses because I come from a Smash Brothers background, and I'm playing Multiverses. I'm like, they got it. They just, there's some things that they could fix, but they got it. I'm playing Tom and Jerry, and I'm wrecking people with Tom and with a cat and a mouse, and I'm like loving this game. I'm making the video at the same time with Diablo Immortal, and I swore a pledge, which means I had to uninstall Multiverses.
Oh man, that breaks my heart. I think they do Multiverses right, like in terms of monetization.
I agree. I honestly think they do Multiverses right, but I'd be dishonest if I said, "Hey, I'm still playing Multiverses, guys." And people were just like, "Didn't you take a pledge?" Not that I'm like, "Yeah."
Well, have you been following Blue Protocol at all? Like they announced that as a free to play MMO, and it looks like a real high quality one. Who knows what that means? Would that is there a way that you can at some point, if they do, because like if they do a free to play game right, like is there any way to kind of look like evaluate that, or is this like you got married and you're just we're stuck for to one of us part, either free to play goes or I go.
I don't know if there's like a loophole with what I said by not playing free to play. That's why I said in my video I wish there was a different definition to it. Not free to play, but maybe like free game with microtransactions, or it's
free to start, free
to try, or something like that. I wish there was something like that, because I have been following Blue Protocol, and it does really look good, and I do want to actually play it, just like how I actually wanted to play Torchlight Infinite. That was also free to play. And well, latest news on that is that it's heavily monetized, so I gotta shove it in the shelf forever. Can that be played? So like something like Multiverses, if I can go back on that, if something was able to follow that model, something that's like really friendly, doesn't push anything, you can actually just play the game to progress. Or if they really do have like money involved, I would like it if it was like kind of like how what like League of Legends did,
Mm-hmm.
and they have like a base like $50 or $60, you get all the champions or something like that,
Yeah.
and you get all the champions in the future. You don't have to pay a single dime after
Oh,
that.
yeah. Interesting. See, like that's one of the things that I do feel will happen in multiverses is that because I bought the $100 edition
Mhm.
for multiverses. We played it for 3 hours, me and the kids, and we're like, this is great. One of
Yeah.
the cool things about Tom and Jerry is that as you're fighting as them, they're actually fighting each other. That's the moves you're doing. It's like them fighting each other, but you actually then hit, and I was like, that's so beautiful and well done. But like on that note, like, so I got various character tickets. So I still have
Yeah.
a whole stack of them. I've unlocked every character, but it's like, yeah, at some point that stack of character tickets is gone. And I either need to just buy the new characters, which when I started thinking about it, I was like, one of the things
That's
that like
yeah.
can this land in a streaming kind of cultural way that people really are like, is this engaging content to watch? I honestly don't know. I don't have that much time to stream, but when it comes down to it, it's like, this is a great game. Like I play it on the Steam Deck. I play it with the kids. Like
Yeah.
it is a lot of fun, and with that net like rollback setup, online play is smooth as butter to the point where like you named us some other fighting games. Like I hope Street Fighter 6 has net rollback. I hope that all these other, like every fighting game has this kind of setups, because that's like I felt like, why is it that we can have these great first person shooter experiences, but I grew up with a fighter, dude. Like I was raised in fighting games. I was
Yeah.
born into them. You merely just adopted the darkness. Like, oh my goodness, let's freaking go. So it's like that's where I want to see, like, I want to just kind of sit down and chew on a good fighter, like, and enjoy that. I love
Yeah.
fighting games. In fact, I wish either I didn't know of Evo or it didn't exist. But one of the things that I really like when I look back at college is like that would have been what I did. Like I would have gone and trying to compete in Evo, and that would have been my goal. That would actually probably have been my dream, you know.
Oh, I you talking about like going back and playing like old games. Like they're trying to bring back at least Capcom is, they're trying to bring back old games as well. Like Street Fighter, the new Street Fighter 6. I don't know if it'll have rollback or something. I knock on wood, I'm knocking on it right now. I want it to have rollback. I want them to come out on stage and be like, rollback. And I'd be like, thank you. Thank you. It's games like that, like, and multiverses, which tears me apart that I have to say that I can't do free to play games, because you're right. Like you bought the $100 pass and that's all you had to pay. You got the tickets, you got all the characters, you can have all the characters.
Mhm.
And I don't even mind paying for new characters to come out,
Right.
because Smash Brothers did that. They came out with like 70 something characters at launch or something, and then it
Yeah.
just grew and grew and grew. They had their
But
like
Smash doesn't
character
have
pass.
the good online infrastructure.
It does not.
Like
No, it doesn't.
and it doesn't even have good online or good Wi-Fi thing. Me and my nephew, we sat down to play Smash. He on his Switch, me and mine, and then we just gave up and just docked the Switch so we could play on the TV. And I was like, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous. Like, this is a problem in Nintendo, and it's like, and then they isolate this amazing game off into this one piece of the world where then I was like, I think Multiverses is the first game that literally is stepping into the ring and actually not just, hey, I'm this kind of game. Like, no, I feel like it goes toe to toe with Smash, and it doesn't obviously have the iconic roster, but they're bringing in some real iconic characters that it's like,
Who was it?
okay, this is great. We just got Gizmo from Gremlins. I'm a huge Gremlins guy. Spike's coming, Black Adam's coming. Like, let's keep playing. And it doesn't feel like these are just reskins of the existing roster, which is huge.
With their voice actors as well, because
Yes.
they were trying to make the game as genuine. There was like a game called Nickelodeon All Stars, which also had rollback. They just didn't have, it just didn't feel right because there was no voice acting.
Yeah.
It felt kind of like fake in a way. Nothing against the people who made that game, because they also made like another really good game as an indie company. But How are you going to come out with a good game like Super Smash Brothers and then not for whatever reason update your online, your Nintendo, and people are trying to play what Mario Kart, Splatoon, Super Smash Brothers, and you're getting all types of other third-party games on your console with online, and yet it's the worst online out of like all of the consoles. Everything it just
Yeah,
can't be done.
exactly. Now, I do got a couple questions I want to dive into, especially as we talk about MMOs, and because like one of the things that will be interesting to see. I won't hold you to your free to play pledge if you join me in multiverses or in Blue Protocol. Just mind you, like I'm playing with Sync, guys. Like this is great. But I do want to say thanks to Paul Gaming Live. While we're filming, hitting that $1 membership club. That brings us to 125. My goal right now, at least for the tier ones, is to get to 200. So at some point, I just need to figure out how to ask 75 people for $1. Like, hi guys, not one person for $75, but like 75 people. So thank you so much, Paul, for accepting that challenge that you did probably not know I issued. And so yes, like yeah, so let's keep the word, spread it out, and help people. Like let me know what I can do. We have exclusive content for members only here on the channel. So thank you, Paul, for that. Now, we've talked interestingly enough about a couple of different subjects, but there's something that I feel is kind of tiptoeing around this conversation. And I think it's best to start with this question. What is an MMORPG to you?
So I would say it's a game that's massively have people in a multiplayer setting online, of course, and obviously it has to be an RPG. It has to have at the very least like instances of people of like 100 or can hold 100 people and up. And to be more definitive on this, that's what I think an MMORPG is, and not an MMORPG where they say it's just multiplayer online. And I know some people try to conflate that, but no, MMOs are massively multiplayer online games, 100 people up, people all playing together, see each other, can talk to each other, communicate with each other, play together, can look to their left and their right and they see somebody and say, hey, can you want to do a dungeon together, or hey, can we trade for something like that. The community is also what I think an MMO has to have in order to be an MMO. It has to have something that allows people to be in a game together, in a world together, in a community together.
100%. Now, what's going to be interesting, let me kind of give you some examples of games that have kind of blended this label, perhaps, right? Obviously, we bring the RPG and you kind of clarify the RPG-ness of it. But if we just kind of separate them into kind of two different ideas, MMO and then RPG. An MMO, would you classify Destiny as an MMO?
I can't get. I'm not allowed. I don't think I can say it because I don't know Destiny very much.
Okay. Would you classify Fortnite?
Fortnite? I'd probably classify Fortnite maybe more of an MMO RPG, or not an RPG, but MO game, an multiplayer online. I know it has like the 100 people in one place, but it doesn't have like the community aspect. You know, where after game or even during the game, where you could talk to people and build like a relationship or even a friendship. More like you're just trying to snipe somebody in the face and move on. You know. What's like really good about MMOs is that they have that kind of like if you want to make a friend, you can. There's doesn't need to have a competition. You can literally start a dungeon and then come out of a dungeon having 3 more friends. That's what I think. Whereas Fortnite, I don't know. I think Destiny you can, because you do go into dungeons or something like that.
There's weird blendings of it, because like Paul's bringing up, is Warzone and MMO, over 100 players trading bullets. We got player trading going on. You don't want to receive the trade. You're like, deny trade. But that is going to be what it is. In this case, like it's interesting because the Destiny devs, they classify it as an MMO, but not necessarily MMORPG. But when we talk about it, it's like the pool of players is massive. The drop in, drop out is massive. But overall, like you're not seeing hundreds and hundreds of players on the screen at any one time. Where like in something like Fortnite Warzone, you are in Final Fantasy 14, you can within the individual zones. They do support like I think it's 125 or 175, and then they kind of speculate it out. Guild Wars 2, for example. So there's just all kind of a wide range of that, and so it ends up I feel like the argument where people come online, it starts to kind of really break down as to what kind of features of the MMORPG do you want to actually like see come back in prominence or be preserved that would really kind of help establish that. So to give you kind of some thought process before you answer this next question is like is Final Fantasy 14's story and narrative something that really the MMORPG genre as a whole should start to adopt and encapsulate? Is it more open world content like you would see in Guild Wars 2? Is that something that like if you were designing your perfect MMO, like what pieces do you think are best executed, and would you then like want to have that brought into? It doesn't have to, the theoretical utopian MMO, for example.
Yeah. Community. Like the story's all right. That's part of the game. For example, RuneScape. Brian, do you know anything about RuneScape story?
Well, I actually am not a RuneScape player or even old school, but what's interesting is to see where people start off. Like there are a lot of people who started off actually in RuneScape, where you and I's like at least my journey started with Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah, nah. So like the story wasn't really what like tied me to an MMO. It was the people around me. And there was a massive amount of people, and the things that people come up with on their own without the game coming out with events.
Mm-hmm.
People will have like, DJ parties or, RP parties, and which, I don't go into that, even though I say that.
RP's fine. You're thinking of ERP, that exotic, that like we were joking in the beginning of this episode. For those of you who have not seen the pre-show, adult content advisory joke warning.
But yeah, if I were to make a good MMO, the community has to stick, and the story has to help be part of the RPG aspect if I'm going MMORPG, because I think story is very important and gameplay, obviously. But I honestly think the most important thing is the community. If you don't have a community that is like at least talking or at least being able to do things together, and at the very least playing the game on a massive scale, like you know how raids work, and you know how big, like for example, Fates 14 did this amazingly in like ARR. There was like a giant crab in Costa del Sol. The first few days, there was like 200 people really just trying to wail on this crab.
Yeah.
And the crab scaled because of how many people were on there. So it was literally knocking people down. But people were enjoying themselves. I made a few friends. We started doing dungeons together. It's kind of like that aspect. I can't really like define it as maybe just community. There has to be like something that pulls people together, right? Like that's why that's probably why you said like story or the gameplay. Something has to pull these people together, and for it to be seen as like a giant community, or at the very least something that everybody can do. If I may ask, for Destiny, even though I said I don't really know much about it, is it? I thought people can walk around and see each other and actually talk to each other.
Well, they have like basically they called it like shared world shooter, where they have the zone, so you go into a zone and they'll fill that with other players, and so you see other guardians playing, running around, and you have shared social spaces. So the game kind of behind the scenes is matching you into the zones. Like it's the zone, but like you can get kind of put in and out of it. So it actually works, I think, fairly well. And actually, to correct myself from earlier, Grey Knight says that 14 actually can support around 400 players in a single zone, which is great, which is fantastic. Like you said, like if you had 200 people killing cancer out of Cast of the Soul, like there you go. Like that's like those kind of epic moments. And I think that's really kind of I do actually I hear to that. Like in that, one of the things that I do feel like and this is where actually I'm not going to answer this question because I'll let you answer, then I'll talk about it. But where do you feel like MMORPGs have actually gone wrong over the last decade or two? Like have they made any mistakes that you personally would like to see rolled back or corrected in some way?
As much as I like the dungeon finder, or at least the party finder, I say dungeon finder because I was thinking World of Warcraft for a second there.
Yeah.
There,
It's like Twitch
yeah.
is like follow and YouTube subscribe, and Twitch is subscribe and YouTube's member. Raid versus live redirect. Sync up on some terminology. It's confusing the heck out of me. Anyway, go ahead, please.
Yeah, please. I do believe that there's like a loss of like communication with that. When it comes to MMOs, a lot of people will just a lot of games will just throw you in a dungeon without saying much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point for 14 players, it's kind of a habit to go into a dungeon or a trial and say, "Hey, hi, what's up? Hi, how you doing? Yeah, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing, sir?" So like, I don't know how that stuck, but it's still there. People talking about it, even though we have roulettes just as every other MMO has now. Like down the line, that isn't like enhanced in a way. Sometimes we lose touch. Like I definitely lost touch in World of Warcraft with that. My first dungeon experience, going into a dungeon, nobody said hi, nobody said anything. The tank, he was gone, and I was just like, I was just following him, and I was just like, okay, what's happening? Takes the first mob, takes the first like a whole bunch of like mobs and everything, just attack, boss, attack, boss, attack, last boss, done, said nothing. I was like, that's a weird WoW experience.
Yeah.
I thought this would be different. It didn't happen. Somehow, and I think this is the reason why I love like 14 and Guild Wars 2, because Guild Wars 2 actually has a good community that talks and likes to speak to each other. I think MMOs that are trying to emulate like World of Warcraft lose the community aspect, and they got to try to figure that out. Yeah, they got to try to figure that out, and I don't understand why it's like hard. It's an MMO, should have something of a community in there for people to talk. Like Elder Scrolls, they do okay. Like people talk in the chat as well. I just don't know why other MMOs are having other hard times with that. Also, in scaling, that's going to be a universal thing. Scaling and class balancing, that's always going to be a thing. I don't know if there's a cure to that. We just had our own little kerfuffle in 14 about Paladin and Warrior not being able to finish what was it? A Savage fight. And that was like its whole ordeal. Yoshi P came out with an apology for that. He had to scale down the monster. I mean, first of all, he didn't need to do that, but he did do that and apologized. So good on him. But yeah, that's the other thing. That's a personal issue. I don't think that counts though. Like
I'm with you on matchmaking in a way, because I think the other cost isn't necessarily also on the community. It ends up being on the design of the content itself.
Yeah.
And when you play content that is not match made, you're like, this is so good. And obviously matchmaking is a very convenient style filter. My hope is like, as we've seen in 14, where they've brought in trusts, and if they would go and make them hybrid in a way, like where you like, let's say we're playing together and you know what, I can't find two other people, let's just bring in trusts and let's go do the content. Then I think ultimately you have that flexibility, and then maybe you could actually then retire matchmaking completely, and then you could then have your design, your content up to unique and interesting ways. Yes, there's a reason why you want to go down this other hallway that maybe leads to an optional boss. Like in a match-made system, anybody wanting to go to that optional boss is SOL. You're the jerk.
Yeah.
You're like, why are you doing this? Like, we're here to get the win, and we're here to move on with our life. And like, I use matchmaking because it's so convenient. But imagine if it was like, oh, it's me. Hey, you want to team up? I think matchmaking ends up being like, a lot of people end up saying like, nobody's talking. Am I actually running with humans, or are these bots in the first place? I don't know. You might not be. The AIs have been, bots have been getting pretty daggum, interesting. But I know that people are worried about that, because they start to say like, oh, I don't want to, like, I just want to get into the content. And it's like, and then you're also the same person that is going to complain that the content isn't engaging after you do just get in, just run the content. And then you're like, I did that 3 times. Well, I wish it was better. Well, the system, I believe the reason why it's not is matchmaking, because matchmaking is a very expensive thing in terms of how you design content thereafter it, in terms of difficulty, in terms of player choice. in terms of these things. And so my hope is my mission here at Ginger Prime is to get more people on the anti-matchmaking crowd in PvE. PvP, I don't care who I shoot. It's like whatever.
Oh, well, how have you been playing PvP in 14, or is that like
I haven't in the last I've been working on finishing off Machinist, and so I do the Frontlines PvP because it gives that big experience boost. But the Crystalline Conflict was solid, dude. Like that's something that I was like, this is a really fun mode. But I'm feeling like I'm getting to that point where in 14, after covering it for 13 years, that I need to just take a break, for like a patch or two, if nothing, if not more, just to let myself say, you know what, I want to actually play catch up rather than be on the cutting edge.
Kind of agree with the matchmaking there though, because like if they can do something about that in PvP as well, I'd be very grateful. So like they actually put a description on like why it is what it is. So if you are not ranked bronze, silver, or gold, you're all in the same match. That's all it is. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a flaw. Like, why would you put gold and unranked or bronze together in the same fight or in the same match? Whereas people in gold specifically have like they've earned their right to be in gold, right? Mm-hmm. Just like platinum, just like diamond. It's bonkers. It's honestly bonkers to me, and that's a slight complaint to all that. Just a slight. I love it. I love Crystalline Conflict. I love it. It's just if I end up in a team full of bronze or no ranks, and I'm the only gold, and the communication is incredibly, you can't type anything in chat because they don't want any toxic stuff. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't want to be that person to ping the same button over and over again. Stay on the crystal, stay on the crystal, stay on the crystal. No, I just do it once and hope they hear that. And I'm there on the crystal. I'm like, please go on the crystal. Meanwhile, your teammates are everywhere else. They're gone. And it's because they don't really have the sense yet. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to entirely blame them. They want to have fun. That's fine. But I would like to play more with like my rank, gold, with which I'm at right now. And last time I made it to platinum.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't make it to diamond because I got too frustrated. But I made it to platinum. And when you're in platinum, you play with really good people.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find yourself in like a match with people in diamond and no crystal yet, but you get diamond and platinum when you're in platinum, and sometimes gold for some reason. So I'm like, that's weird matchmaking. Like, what are you doing? Like,
interesting.
Please change that.
Yeah. Now, so PvP matchmaking. I don't think I think it's a great system, but I remember reading a dev blog from it was like Minecraft Dungeons, and it was like, when was the last time you had a good PvE matchmade experience? Like, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I see chat pulling out, like, sometimes you get a bunch of chads, and then sometimes it's like, oh no, this isn't working out. And, and that's usually where this isn't working out leads to drama. Like, how could they not do this? And they can't vent that in game anymore. So they go online, and that's where all that just bubbles up. Like, oh, I thought this community was great. It's like, no, like we have people just like everybody else has people.
They go straight to Reddit and Twitter, and then like the bro, you don't want to say that. Okay, you already posted it. Oh, he's about to get ratioed. Well,
oh no. Well, especially if you're posting anything negative about 14, it's like it's like, oh no, he's committed to sin. We must rise up. We had nothing to do today. I want to highlight two comments here in the live show itself. But I've got two other questions after this that I really want to get your thoughts on. Some breaking news and stuff. But Gene kind of kicks us off, says, I think matchmaking is a requirement because some content just gets ignored. And David follows this up saying, just wondering how you would actually keep old 14 dungeons being done without roulettes. And I think these two kind of go together in my mind. So to answer this, like with the trust system and a hybrid, I want a trust hybrid where it doesn't mean, because I don't like how it's just trust and one other player. I would love it if it was like, we got 3 people, let's backfill with the trust, etc. Like, then you can have that content. Now, roulettes were brought in as a way to kind of also backfill those dungeons and make sure that people were still doing those. And so I think that it'd be interesting to see some kind of system that would incentivize like a, you know, an older dungeon like each week or something, or maybe like a set, like, hey guys, like it's this week, and if you can go knock out that would be really cool. If you want to, you know, like, again, it's like I can't redesign 14, and I don't think you would go and say just delete the matchmaking in 14. But I think essentially what we're seeing is that we're starting to see that actually play out in the Criterion dungeons and the new pieces of content that's coming next, in which that there is a match made and then there's a non-match made version. And that's where, like, you want to see a difficulty thing. We're not going to match make you into this content because it's just not going to end well. You know, you get, why? How do you not have that? But then we also look at the concept of Blue Mage. So I think there's solutions, but I don't want to redesign the system. Do you have any other thoughts, like on what Gene and David said?
I kind of agree with, like, if they had like a hybrid. If you go in, can't find anything in like 5 minutes, you could have like 2, you know, AIs behind you, and you're like in a party with somebody else. I think that's like a good midway point between trusts and being able to do like a full roulette, like definitely for DPS who have to wait for like 10 minutes.
Right. Like, all right, I'm gonna grab a tank, and me and my friend, we're going, you know, like,
right.
And, exactly, hybrid. But
right. I think, now that I think about it, MMOs have, like, 14 especially, when it comes to like older content, you just touched on this, you know, outside the whole matchmaking thing, old dungeons, or encouragement of doing old dungeons, I think there's like something that should be done with that. Like, I know they're trying, because you could tell with how they changed main scenario roulette, and they split it up so that, you know, us vet players are like, okay, I don't have to spend an hour in it, but I can help out the new players that just got to that point, and they redesigned everything. But for like older dungeons, just like really hardly any reason to go back unless you're leveling something, or, you know, you press leveling roulette and you're helping out a past player. Like, I honestly think we should get like just a tinge more bit of a reward, maybe some extra tombstones, or just try to avoid what World of Warcraft does, please. And I don't think they have the incentive of going back to past dungeons unless they have to. 14 is kind of doing that. We're kind of forced into it from leveling roulette. For the most part, nobody minds. Everybody's okay with it. I just like the Criteria dungeons. I thought, and I was a mistake for this. For the Criteria dungeon, I thought it was going to be harder versions of the old dungeons, but that's not the case. It's literally its own thing.
Yeah.
If you can turn up the difficulty for older dungeons with some sort of reward in the end, that would help in terms of like something like that. And I think MMOs in general suffer from this sometimes. So I just don't know.
It's a hard problem to solve. Like, the roulettes are a smart solution. Give you rewards that are to whatever you're needing, and then we're going to put you wherever we need help. You know, like, because we don't want people waiting. And that, like, roulettes weren't in the game when ARR launched. They came in pretty quickly after, so it was a well thought out, well designed system. I'm just saying, like, nowadays, like, as we look to the future, it's like, when I play something like New World and the dungeons in that game, they're magnificent. They're just some of the best designed PvE content that I have. The only thing I could compare them to would be like a Destiny dungeon, you know, and, you know, it's like just this deep rooted piece of content that isn't designed for you to clear it in 10 minutes or less, you know?
Right.
And so and that's actually the first of the two questions I want to ask before we wrap up the podcast here. Like, have you played New World? Have you followed New World? Yes or no, and then why not, and what would make you make it a game that you would try?
Have not played it yet. Am I going to try it? Yes, actually, because it's one of the future like projects I want to try to get into. I want to see what that new player experience is. So be worried, Brian. I'm coming after your game, and then I'm gonna take a sledgehammer to it to see what's inside.
I hope you do. I hope also, if like getting a sledgehammer, you go up to that box and submit feedback. Because like the one thing that I was like, I literally had the devs tweet out a suggestion that I made, and they called me. They're like, "Who's this sicko?" Not like, in a negative way. I should pull up the tweet for context, but they were like, "Y'all seriously want cactuses to damage you?" You know, because that was my feedback. I was running around the new sand zone, and I ran through a pile of cactuses, and I was like, "Oh, I bet this is gonna hurt," and I didn't get any kind of damage or any kind of dot, and I was like, "Huh."
Immersion gone.
Immersion gone. But and the game is so immersive that I was like, that was kind of weird. Like I was like, I would expect it doesn't like need to kill me. Like it just needs to be like, oh, like a little
Yeah.
damage before running through cactuses. And then they tweeted out, they're like, are y'all okay? Like, you know, they weren't calling me wacko. Like, are y'all doing okay? And I was like, that was my feedback. But it's like, I put that in the game. They are watching, they are reading it. And so, like, you know, take a sledgehammer to it, but also like send them that feedback because it's important. I don't want this to be the Brian game. I want this to be like, what makes this game better? And I think MMOs from a communal aspect, it's also about having voices heard. Not necessarily doesn't mean the answer is yes to every idea out there, but at least that it's like, okay, this is what we're hearing. This is what we're saying.
Yeah, at the very least, devs, top brass should be able to say, yeah, we hear you. We're taking your suggestion. Please send us more feedback. You know, we want to know more about our game that obviously thousands of people are playing. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be trying out New World as I heard good things so far. I don't know where to start or how this is going to start. I'm actually a little nervous going into New World.
Oh, yeah.
Only because I've gotten one side of the story from a lot of people who played it and said they don't like it. And then there's the other side that says you should try it at the very least. And both sides have met each other and has clashed. And I'm in the middle, like, maybe I should just try it. I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't seem bad now. It just, hey,
there should be a sale
fair.
coming up soon. They just wrapped up like a kind of a 50% off sale. Now, I feel like the game's easily worth it for 40, even with all its launch issues. People were like, I put 2,000 hours into this game and I hate it. It's like, yeah, you spent $40 and you got 2,000 hours. You know, like, wait a minute. Like, all right.
Where am I starting with this though? Like, where should I start? How should I start this? Is there anything I should know?
Before? Yeah, I would say like easily for you in your situation, since like you've got other little projects and you're doing stuff. So it's not like start right now. There would be a value in you starting pre the new player experience update, because then you could have this idea of like, what was it like before and here's what it's after, especially because you can take a veteran character through the new player experience, so you're not having to like, oh, I had to make 2 characters, blah blah blah. Outside of that, as a caveat for you, they are working on like starting fresh start servers, so it would be like, hey, it's been a year and now new servers, all new characters are on those servers, and then you have like not just the year's worth of like bug fixes and content added, but you also have the new weapons to kind of play around with, new player experience. Now that experience is going to take you to 1 to 25, and they're going to listen for feedback on that, and then they're going to take that feedback and then I guess finish off 26 to 60 for the player experience. But they're doing some really cool stuff. So it's like, I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on it, positive and negative, because I think all opinions from like, as long as they're set in the right context, this is what I've experienced. This is what I usually look for in games. Like Lazy Peon's review of Final Fantasy 14 that caused so much kerfuffle. I was like, the context is like, just understand that he's not like a story guy. Of course he's not going to register with it. And if you actually follow his content, you know, like he's looking for big open world PvP, you know, battles and all this, you know, stuff. Like that's what he's like. That's why he thinks and is putting all his faith in Ashes of Creation to be the next big MMORPG, which it may or may not be. You know, like that's the problem of being a fan of MMOs. There's always what's the next big thing. But no, I'm very curious about when you check it out. But the October update is usually when all that's rolling out. So if you want to experience it now, you only have a couple more weeks to experience it the way it is before all the big updates start rolling out. Otherwise, October comes in and you check it out sometime after that, and there's sure to be more content to come and to be experienced.
I think I think I have time. I could definitely check it out and record it and put some investment in there, because like it's not just New World. There are some other things that I will be touching up on. I didn't play Guild Wars 2 for a while.
Okay.
That's happening. So I'm gonna see what the new expansion is all about on that. But to keep it general, man, New World looks like one of those games that I would probably fall in love with, only because it kind of feels like I'm playing another version of RuneScape, because I saw what you had to do. Like I saw somebody chopping down a tree and they were leveling that up. Mining, they were leveling that up. Maybe they were crafting, leveling that up. Like like other skills were being leveled up due to like activity. and that's kind of like what I miss in 11,
Yeah.
where you weren't just a paladin or you mained a certain job. You were also goldsmithing, you were also mining, you were also, you know, tailoring, fishing. By the way,
Yeah.
do you remember that legendary weapon that you can fish out of the ocean in 11?
Mm-hmm.
Excalibur?
Yeah.
I thought somebody found it. That person apparently lied about it.
Oh.
It still hasn't been found.
Huh.
That legendary fished up Excalibur has never been found in 11 yet. And it's like, what, 20, almost 20 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a legendary item. I mean, I get it.
So I can't wait to actually, like, I may be nervous, but I can't wait to actually start New World. I think
it's gonna be an interesting experience. So I will definitely be along for that joyride. Getting kind of because like there's a lot of what I define New World as. The devs called it a theme park, but it was originally designed as a sandbox. So I say it's actually a sand park. It's a blending of theme park and sandbox. And I think that's actually the future of MMOs. In fact, Ashes of Creation has adopted that moniker as a sand park. We are a sand park MMO. Interesting, you know, right? Because originally their Ashes was saying we're a sandbox. It's like blend the two. Like the people like have been trained in a curated experience that takes them from point A to point B. The sandbox is there to say like, hey, once you've done the curated stuff, like there's this whole thing that you can also engage with optionally if you choose to do so, right? So there's all this stuff that you can. And I'm very curious. Like it speaks to me as an 11 player. It also speaks to me as somebody who grew up in East Texas. Has a lot, like it's just beautiful. Like it absorbs you. And that's where when the cactuses didn't hurt me, that's when all of a sudden I was actually pulled out of that experience. I was like, wait a minute, like everything else has like it feels like it's all like I just feel so integrated, but that's gonna be what it is. Now, one last question before we wrap up today's podcast and show. Twitch has just recently come out, and YouTube also made some big content creation announcements. Have you seen any of the latest updates coming out of Twitch and coming out of YouTube? It's all kind of been broken down in the last 24 to 48 hours.
I think I've heard only like one thing so far. I've heard Twitch is now, and I think this is a W for them, they are now banning gambling.
And you know, like
something like that.
Sports betting, like it's like slots, the thing that's been you know kind of the biggest controversial thing, especially when people are like, yeah, I'm totally sponsored, and there's like, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm winning all this money, you know, so triggering your addiction.
Oh yeah, like I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, so does that mean that like Genshin Impact is banned, or is that like because you know over in like the Netherlands it's considered a form of gambling, so what's going on with that? And I think I've heard that they're now rolling out like a 50-50, and YouTube is now doing something like monetizing their shorts.
Yeah, so you're well up to speed. So to catch everybody up who's listening and just kind of curious, content creator talk here. The majority of people over on Twitch are already on a 50-50. I think essentially the last data we had was from 2018, which basically said that there was like maybe 21% were on a 70-30 split for subs. But if you actually look at it, like we don't have actual numbers, but like it's estimated more like 5% are still on that. So they've been stepping that down. Twitch has to go with ads. And so if you've been watching a Twitch streamer, I have Work to Game, which I share with Chris. And one of the things is that Twitch handles the ads. Like they just literally run ads. It gives you a countdown. And if you're subbed, you don't have an ad ruining experience. And they were saying like, it costs us a lot of money, you know, to have these streams, and it's going 50-50, and YouTube's at 70-30. But then I think YouTube has a better discovery and a better ad rate split when it comes down to the content in the long run, give or take. But what YouTube announced was short monetization for partners, a way to get into the partner program via shorts, and also the way to super chat on or super thanks on shorts, which I was like, that's interesting. And we'll see if that has any real impact on us. Like YouTube's live streaming experience, like I think probably took a back road to shorts, as YouTube has been probably focusing on, we got to get all the short stuff done. Let's go. But it's interesting to see what happens in the long run with that. So I think overall, like this change over on Twitch, it really does, I think, hurt the content creator who's making over 100K, which we aren't. Like you have to you need you need at least 2,000 or 3,000 subs a month to be like pulling in, you know, what I would say, like, you know, oh, you're a dad and you want to start streaming and you got kids, like oh man, don't quit your job, because it's going to be a hard fight, because most of the people over there are feast or famine. But we're actually seeing a uptick in ad revenue because Twitch is actually handling that. And I think that's the only real way that Twitch can cover the delta, because when it comes down to it, you spend your $5, the content creator gets 250, Twitch gets 250, and then you don't get ads, so they're not making any additional revenue off of that, for the whole month. So it's like, I think they're gonna, who knows, I wonder if they'll turn off ad-free viewing, for subs.
If you think about it, so ads is like very integral, and that makes a lot of sense for Twitch. So like, business wise, I can understand. However, when it comes to the feedback of people watching Twitch, like
YouTube right now is literally telling me I need to run an ad,
right?
And so like, I'm just wondering if YouTube's also getting ready to follow suit. Like, I like streaming on YouTube. Yeah. And one of the things that I was like, Chris, like, handle Twitch. I'll stream occasionally. And then I'm over here and I'm like, oh yeah, no, they're like, they're not bothering me over on Twitch. It's like, you need to run an ad. You got to run an ad right now. And I was like, if you want ads run, you got to handle it. Like, I'm not going to be like, all right, like, no.
It's just weird, because it's like, for me as a viewer on Twitch, and like, this is the reason why I'm like sub to my favorite people, like Work 2 Game included, is because I don't want the ads. And you're welcome.
As somebody who's having to rely on that money for the first time ever in their life, like, okay, thank you.
it's just that the ads get so in the way. Like, I was sitting there watching a person by the name of Hungrybox, and the reason why I sub to him is because when ads popped up automatically for him, he's wondering like, why is everybody saying ads in my chat, is because Twitch pulled up an ad or ads, 6 of them, all of them are like 30 seconds or more, and we're all like, oh my god, we have to sit here for like 3 minutes. Why are we sitting here watching ads? Some people left. Some people didn't want to watch the ads. This is what I'm worried about when it comes to like Twitch and to ads and this sub thing. And like, it kind of feels to me that this might not be a W for them. This might actually be an L. Like, it might be a loss, because some Twitch streamers have been thinking about just switching over to YouTube or some other platform for a while now.
Yeah.
Some have made the move and say, Twitch, they're doing 70-30 and they didn't pay me to come over here. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know. If this is what they have to do to make money, I'm not a business analyst. I don't go into all that. I'm not an accountant, so I don't know the numbers. But if they don't do something to at least help out the viewing experience with Twitch, they might actually start seeing a lot of streamers leave.
Yeah, it's got to be difficult, because you've built an entire ecosystem around being live. Where on YouTube, the mindset that I have is like, I try to do streams in terms of events. Yeah, so I'm not live all the time, nor do I want to be. Like, as a parent, as a dad, like, I honestly didn't want, like, that's when people talk about like, oh, I want to be a Twitch streamer. It's like, like, no, the hour commitment alone. It's like, and then you build an identity on being live, right? And so it's like, what if you get sick? What if you want to, like, that in and of itself is like, I'd rather craft a video and then essentially come and do, like, we've been doing these shows live. It's been wonderful. Like, this has been great, but like, it's an event as opposed to like, okay, yeah, Brian's live from this time, from this time to this time every day. And I get that there's like, some people will like that, but I like when people are like, oh yeah, Brian, you need to, that's what you should do. It's like, well, I mean, if that's what it's going to take, then it's not worth it. It's going to just, I'm going to not enjoy content creation and you see a lot of people who are doing this. The thing that I think is going to be the biggest problem is that people who have been making their living and either just barely making it, like, feeling like, oh man, you constantly have to be live. And then they're not actually supplementing on other platforms, because, variety and having other platforms is a key to any kind of success in this, content creation game. But what do you think?
Like, success on Twitch, you need to have success on like some other platform in the first place. Like, if you're successful on YouTube and you get a lot of like there was people on YouTube, Vine when it existed, and other social medias. If you're OnlyFans, but if you
subscribe to my OnlyFans, and I have a box fan I need instead of
that's your OnlyFans just like you showcasing the fan over
Yeah.
and over, just holding it. That's
Give
how
me
you.
money. I am, or send me a referral link to
I'll show you my
programming jobs.
fans.
Yeah, I'll show you my fans.
um, that's the thing. That's the myth of Twitch. You don't really grind on Twitch to get viewers.
Yeah.
It might work for some of the lucky people, but you need to have already an established community in order to just make it successful in Twitch. Whereas YouTube, you actually have a better chance, especially since on YouTube they have the shorts and people love shorts, and making videos and even live streaming has become better. So like I don't know what Twitch is doing, but YouTube is kind of stepping up.
Mhm.
I'm kind of scared. I honestly want Twitch to actually do well. Again, competition, all that other jazz, but it ain't looking good.
Yeah.
Brother, it's not looking good.
It's gonna be interesting to see if there's any kind of fallout from this for sure. I mean, they still, I think, have the premier live streaming experience. Like when you look at it, it's like, all right, like imagine if you were trying to build a live streaming service today. Yeah, it's going to take a long time, but it's like at least there's like a clear feature list of things that you need to have. And then here I am on YouTube, and it's like talking with like a mod. It's like they're like, man, I wish I had some tools. And
The
I
chat.
hear, I hear go ahead.
Chat definitely needs they need to step it up. Like in terms of YouTube, their chat is not good. They need to do something with that. If you don't know who Ludwig is, he tried to make an add-on for chat, and he's trying to send it out to other streamers where the chat experience is pretty good. If they can fix that, have a different site for live streams so you can find people who are live streaming and have categories on that, YouTube will be peachy.
Dude, 100%. Like it's so funny because I was even I was like, why is it that like Tyler was streaming Ninja, and I was like, I had to go to his channel page just to pull up his stream. I was like, and it's like he had like 7,000 to 8,000 people on YouTube, and you know how I knew he was live. I got a notification on Twitch that he was live because he's streaming everywhere.
Yeah,
and my hope is that either kicks off some kind of lawsuit, and Twitch is like, all right, we get it, stream everywhere. The thing that you actually see with his numbers is his Twitch numbers are way up.
Yeah, his Twitch numbers are up.
Twitch numbers are way up.
And the fact that he says that he's streaming everywhere, if you combined, I actually did this. You combine for maybe the first week all of his numbers of viewers, it was like 40K because he was like TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. There's a sixth one in there. You combined all of that. That was like in the 40,000s, and I'm like, did he like crack the code or something? Is there something that I'm missing?
No, it's always been that. It's like this, like why, like when I advise people not to get a Twitch affiliate, like don't cut yourself off. Like you're gonna like, oh, I know you're excited, but it's not going to be what you need it to be. You want to be able to have that ability to stream everywhere. And honestly, especially for some of these Twitch affiliates that like you're streaming to 5-10 people, F Twitch, just do it. Like no one's going to find you. No one's going to report you. Yeah. And if they do, like, okay, sorry. It's like that, like, oh, because I think you'll still bring in people to your stream. Like, I think you will. Like, you're not going to, I don't think ultimately hurt yourself in the long run. And I think ultimately that brings you to a lawsuit. And honestly, what we're waiting for is somebody to sue Twitch because it's in violation of like California penal code, like not penal code, but whatever the law is, because of like you're technically a 1099 employee. And unless you sign an exclusive, like I will only make content for your platform. Like it really is something. Yeah. And everybody else doesn't do it.
Yeah, they're based in California.
So it's I think it's a matter of time. I didn't
think about that actually. That is like a lawsuit waiting to happen, isn't it?
I hope so, because I think then it gives the viewer the viewing experience that they prefer, right?
Yeah,
it just does. We see that all the time. We see that. What Chris and I get the unique opportunity is we've been doing live shows on Twitch and on YouTube, and you know what? Twitch numbers go up. Like people are like, oh hey, I'll go over here and I like watch wherever like you should just as the viewer, like, do you like watching on a Samsung TV or do you like watching on this or like whatever? Like we shouldn't have to be locked into this. And so maybe one day that will happen. We'll go from there. And Eston, thanks so much. Says click the bell and pray YouTube sends the notification. That's absolutely right. Thanks also for the 26 likes here on that. Sync, where can people find you? What do you got coming up that you're excited about? Maybe some new worlds going to be in your future, which I'm excited about. What's the floor is yours, sir.
You can find me on my name, Sync Weaver. You can find me on that channel. You're gonna see a lot of 14 lore. Just be wary. Just be aware. But yeah, find me on YouTube / Sync Weaver. You can also find me on Twitch. I won't talk about Twitch too much because I'm not really streaming on there, but you can find me here on YouTube. And in terms of the latest project, I just put out my Diablo Immortal video, but because Brian did just give me an idea, I think I will be hitting New World a lot earlier. And then I'm going to actually compare the two between that and like October, because I do want to get that experience in. So you'll probably be getting another DM from me, Brian.
Oh, you let me know whatever you need, dude. Whatever you need. I'm excited to hear for it. And then I'll answer this question, David, after we run the outro. And then that way we can have it. We can have a kind of a postal combo real quick as my kid's knocking on the door. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Whether you're listening to the MP3 audio, watching this over on YouTube, or consuming this wherever podcasts are found. Thanks so much for your time, your attention, and we hopefully will see you in the next live show. Airing next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central. Until then, take care.
How do you do that?
I'm good.
You really do have the radio voice. Like
hello.
You do. You have that radio. You just do it like perfectly though. Like how do you do that?
Oh well, thank you. I have a weird addiction to like making content, and that's where it's like when I ran the hours, and that's where I was like, oh man, like I'd like to still keep making content, or I need to stop making content, and I need to go. I deliver for Uber or something until something shakes out. I don't care. Like I'll do whatever for my kids. And and it's like when it comes down to it, I was like, all right. So thankfully so many of you guys have like stepped up. I love seeing all the green name tags here. But I think it just comes from the fact that I'm maybe low OCD, addicted to making content. Like I'm like, so I've done it so much that it just like
you're just really I think you get the compliment like every other time too. It's just like
it's people are like, that's really creepy, Brian.
Wait, do you have a question down there?
Does Green and the partner not cover that? It's a light cover, meaning that's actually what would be challenged in court, that specific line item, because there's not a direct agreement, right? So being a partner, that ground is weakening, and what's happening also within every other platform, nobody has that unless they do a special agreement. So me agreeing to the YouTube partner program, so I think essentially that is what's going to end up being challenged in law, is that piece, like you cannot do this. They've weakened that also in terms of like, you can stream over there, I think, as in preparation for that argument. So that lawsuit's already either been filed or they're just trying to prepare themselves for that. The thing is, though, I think it weakens Twitch. I think if Twitch said stream wherever, like we don't care, you can still be a partner, I think they would actually see bigger engagement, bigger numbers. That's what we're already seeing that's what we see. That's what Ninja sees. That's what everybody sees.
So wait, did they reinstate the partners have to stay on Twitch thing?
You cannot stream at the same time. Chris and I get around it because we're actually running two separate streams. So you're not multi-streaming, but because we have two different like layers of presentation and whatnot, it's technically two different streams, and therefore we're able to get around it. But you cannot like take your same stream and then broadcast it everywhere else. Now, all other platforms say go wherever. So right now, Twitch is the only one that's doing it, and I do wonder like if it ends up being Ninja who sues, or what have you. By just showing that, hey, numbers are up. Like, what are y'all doing? And then essentially that opens the floodgates for people to watch wherever they want to watch and consume however they want to consume. It is going to be interesting to see. Let's see here. YouTube Lurker says, I got the noti with 6 minutes left, and then we'll go back to watch it from the beginning. Just a content advisory warning. We make some dick jokes in the beginning of this YouTube Lurker, so just be warning.
if you're mature enough to take it, that's all.
Yeah. Watch this twice. Share with your mother. Tell your mama. Watch this ridiculous ginger make jokes that are semi-offensive.
It's very interesting to think about like how Twitch is going about this, since they were the primary streaming site, and they're kind of doing this like butt backwards kind of thing, and I'm not like really too sure. Like at first it was like, hey, stream wherever, then they go back on that, and then they're doing this 50-50 thing. Like,
all of this is just kind of what was kind of leaked earlier in the year, and so that ended up kind of playing out, so it's like, yeah, this was always coming. We were always locked in at 50-50 anyway, and we weren't able to ever get into the 70-30. So like it really only impacts like the upper echelon, the upper 1% of the 1% over on Twitch. But at the same time, it's like, why not just bring everybody to 70-30? And they're like, oh, because of our expenses and our costs. Like,
that's weird.
It is strange. So that it's like, come on, guys, just step up. And
they're Amazon.
And I think honestly, if they want to keep it 50-50, fine, right? Fine. But just let everybody stream wherever they want. Like just let people multi-stream, just because I think the numbers themselves alone do what they need to do.
Them saying that it's expensive is weird, only because they're funded by Amazon, which is like one of the leading companies in the world.
Right, but they need to. I think they need to start making money. I think that's why you see ads.
Okay,
our ad revenue's gone up dramatically. Like we started actually, like, we were making, my nose is like old clock, like $20 in ads. I think last month we made $300 in ads. And like that is right now for us, like that's huge. Like, so like, we don't really talk about the numbers. I kind of talk about in my video, and but it's like Chris is just like barely squeaking by. Like, it's just like, it's just a hard time to be a content creator over this last summer. And it's like, you guys, through like actual like financial support is what's like, oh my gosh, like this is, that just relieves a little bit. But it's still the fact that like, 50% of that's going over to Amazon. Okay, man, it would be really nice if it was set like 70%, like would be like a big difference. And what the frustration was is like, you got everybody literally who's like a multimillionaire is at 70-30. And then everybody else is like, man, you know what would make a difference in my life? Like $1.25. And that's tragic, right? But then it's like, you like, like everybody on that list of like, you made $5 million this year on Twitch, and you're do not complain to me about 70-30. Like, if you can't like afford all of this at that point, like, so it's weird. So maybe that it does put everybody on it, because it was like this weird requirement, like we like technically hit it, but they weren't offering it anymore. It was like, that's kind of expired. We're not doing 70-30 splits ever again. And that, I mean, if we had been in that program and offered that, like, that would have made this summer, I think, so much more viable. And now in the YouTube offer 70-30. So the Discord Sama, 4 months with this support. Amazing. Thank you so much. For whatever reason, that doesn't actually show up to highlight, but like that 4 months, like, 70%, baby. Like, I love it. It means the world to me. That's so important,
That's why it's so weird, because it's like YouTube is saying, hey, we're doing 70-30, right? Like right here, right now. And this is what scares me, is because I don't want like my favorite streamers to just switch over to YouTube because of that. It's they like can you imagine like Asmongold switching over to like YouTube?
He should just multi-stream it. Like, at the end of the day, just like, screw you guys, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I'm just gonna do it. What are you gonna do?
I think he really does. Like, no matter how he looks or how he acts, he does follow the rules. He's probably more or less gonna stay on Twitch. But he did put a precedent where he was like, the only reason I would ever switch over to YouTube is if they really get like really bad deal for him. So, well,
and he's not actually contracted into any special thing that he's stated on Twitch. So cool, excellent. Guys, thanks so much. Please follow Syncwaver. He's linked in the title of this video. And you let me know, DM me, but let me know, because I want to be there, especially if you need any questions. Our server currently is full. So the population is surging right now. We don't know where it will ultimately shake out, but I'm very, very interested in, especially from you and I share a lot of MMO history. And when you do, like, play through it, get the video out. Let's get you scheduled back on this to kind of do a one-on-one and kind of really jump into it, because I'd love to hear it. Anyway, guys, all right, I'm gonna hit end broadcast, so it's gonna spin itself out. Thanks for hanging out for the post, pre, and early shows, all this stuff. And I'll be back next week here on this place. It should actually redirect you to that stream. We'll have Force Gaming on next week to talk about the MMO 2023 outlook. So anyway, ending.